When this route was first teased a few months ago back in December, I was actually pretty excited. After all, this is our first overground route for Train Sim World and our second TFL route since the Bakerloo line back in 2020. The teaser in question was a map of the Goblin line as well as the mention of the Class 710 Aventra. So we get a new train to play with, a new brand and a 13.5 mile route between Gospel Oak and Barking Riverside, all for the price of £24.99. Yeah, I'll explain why I think it's a decent DLC, but not £24.99 decent. We'll go ahead and talk about the route first. In terms of appearance and detail, this is easily one of Dovetail Games' better efforts at doing so. Much of the line-side scenery, I think, looks pretty okay, and many of the urban areas featured in the game are pretty decently detailed. I think my favourite area overall has to be near Leydenstone and Wamset Park. I just think they've done a really brilliant job right about there. And this goes for all of the stations on the route as well. Well, most of them anyway. We have Gospel Oak, which looks really nice, and as well as that, North London line trains are represented, although they are of course AI only. Upper Holloway looks alright, though I couldn't help but notice that there are no PIS boards on either of the platforms. I assume they were probably stolen. If you go west of Haringey Green Lanes, you'll find this area where you can watch Class 700s and Class 801s rush up and down near Haringey. You will need the extra DLC though, but hey, it's a nice little addition, I guess. I'm not too sure about Black Horse Road, because it looks nice, however the building there is incorrect. Call it nitpicking if you want, but it is inaccurate. Much of the other stations, I don't really have much to say about them. Leydenstone looks nice, Wanstead looks nice, Woodgrange Park looks nice. Barking Station is also decently modelled, though albeit because we don't have any Class 357 stock or S7 stock, it's also unrealistically quiet. C2C services and London Underground services make up 2/3 of the actual rail scene in Barking. So to not have those services leaves the station pretty damn quiet. Though because we don't have any of those trains, I can understand why they're not represented. I did, however, notice the usual Train Sim World problems where the light baking is a bit off, as you can see here at Barking. It's not a big deal, but it is definitely noticeable when you're driving and when you're a passenger. However, out of all the stations, Barking Riverside is easily my favourite station of the entire lot. The station itself is really well done, and the surrounding area as well is decently detailed. So overall, despite the little nitpicks that I found, I'll throw Dovetail a bone here and say that they did a pretty decent job with the route overall. We'll now take a look at the train that it came bundled with. This is the first representation of an Aventra in Train Sim that we have. And for their first time, I say that Dovetail have done an okay job. The exterior modelling is alright, the cab modelling is alright, though I couldn't help but notice the speedometer screen's a bit wrong. And the interior modelling is pretty decent. However, there's a reason why I said the 7110 is just okay, and that's mainly to do with the sounds and one very annoying feature of this train. Really, the best way I can summarize it is that the initial sounds are pretty much alright. However, as you get up to speed, it sounds pretty weird. It may just be that it's how they sound in real life, but it has a very strange sound to it when it's getting up to speed. It's far from the most annoying feature of the 710, which is the doors automatically closing after 40 or 50 seconds. Yes, I'm aware that this is a feature that the adventurers have in real life. However, in Train Sim World, when the doors automatically shut, you have to reopen them, which can be really, really annoying. And it's even goofier on the AI trains, because you will just constantly see the doors shut and then reopen. If the passengers interacted with them, it would be okay, but they don't, which makes it even more sillier. In terms of physics, the 710 is a very easy train to drive. I mean, it should be. It is running on a high-density commuter service after all, but there's not really much of a challenge with this train. So overall, the driving experience is a bit meh at best. Do I think it's a bad thing? No. But do I think it gets repetitive after a while? Yes. There's only about 154 playable services by default with the 710, and the majority of them are end-to-end runs which take about 40 minutes. So yeah, it can get a little bit repetitive. However, if you own other DLC, you'll have an increase of about 99 services, the vast majority of them being freight, empty engine moves, or rail tours, bringing it up to 254 playable services overall. And so, here's the question that probably nobody was wondering. Why do I think that this is a decent route, but not £24.99 decent? The main reason why I don't think it's £24.99 worth is mainly just because of the nature of the Goblin itself. It's a very boring and repetitive route, and although the train's okay to drive, the route is decent, it does get boring pretty fast, and the fact that it's so short as well doesn't really help matters. Even with the additional layers to make it look busy, just the sheer boring nature of the route doesn't really make it £24.99 worth to me. So, here are my final thoughts of the Goblin. I think Dovetail have done a pretty decent job. The route is decent, the train is borderline okay, but the service variation is minimal and it can get boring very fast, even with the additional layers. And so I'm going to write off the route as it is alright, but it's not £24.99 alright. I think it's a bit much for a route of this nature, but it's not a bad DLC by any means necessary. I think if you do pick it up, if you do like this sort of route like I do, then I think you'll enjoy it, and if you enjoy it, then that's perfectly fine. And so, that's my review of Dovetail Games' Goblin line for Train Sim World 4. Next up, we're going to look at the 5 Circle that's releasing next week. And that's made by, oh god, it's made by Rivet Games. Lord help us all. See ya.